Welcome back.
I went to go get. Welcome.
That's why I'm always really hesitant about pumpkin. I am going to turn into a coconut. I'm gonna get canceled, but like,
Just crazy. So she does try and kill herself. Proboscis unfurls.
shout out to my Germans.
Of course, obviously, we all know that lore.
Maybe I'm like messed up. What if I just like read her whole discography? I love scientists. Sometimes her pop culture references don't make me want to fall onto a wooden stake. They didn't want the werewolves teaming up with the humans in an alliance to erase the vampires. What the fuck am I saying?
Obviously,
the
vampire exchange program.
Exactly. He's a buzz guy, by the way. You're sticky. Okay, horses.
We'll figure it out.
TBD.
The mega pop star was really relatable.
I want to be the horse.
Run me around. What?
Okay, so new plan: buy a man in an auction. Only moon you can be
Moonies.
is that koala from Sing. At 14, I was giggling and kicking my feet because Katniss and Peeta cuddled in that cave. Oh, no.
God forbid we talk about someone having premarital sex.
You reading about people getting their back blown out on a fucking Ford F-150. Like,
I fucking love my fake tits. Like, duh.
I don't think that you should be reading the word blowjob. Turn the fucking cameras off.
So, I went to this little boulangerie that we have here.
Uh-huh.
It's a bakery.
Boulangerie.
Okay. Boulangerie. It's funny. I don't know if they rebranded though. It's a branch of one of the like local bakeries here, but like they don't call the other one boulangeries. They just call this one the boulangerie. I don't know if they specialize in like, they do have a lot of like French croissants and stuff that are like amazing, but I got their like pumpkin cream cheese muffin and I was like, oh, do y'all have the, I couldn't see it in the case because it was like on the wall and I wasn't looking behind the lady. And I was like, oh, do y'all have any of the pumpkin muffin? She goes, we've one left. And I was like, can I have it? She was like, yes. I was like, I don't know the way. She was like, we only have one left. I was like, is it not for me? Like,
can I purchase it with money?
And then I wasn't gonna get a coffee, but then I did get a coffee because they had like pumpkin coffee, and I was like, well, it just seems fitting. Yeah. Except this tastes like a candle.
Oh, that's why I'm always really hesitant about pumpkin, because I like pumpkin like desserts and like muffins and stuff, but sometimes the coffee just really like, it's very like fragrant, but like not.
Yeah,
in a
and
good
that's
way.
why I like the apple crisp at Starbucks. Like that was really good last year, and so, yeah. But this is just like something about it tastes off. And there's a cute man who made my coffee. So, also happy Friday the 13th.
No fucking way! It's Friday the 13th. I didn't realize that. It's my favorite day of the year.
It's one of the best days of the year. One year we had like 3 Friday the 13th. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Should I go get a tattoo today? I thought about it, but then I was like, no, I don't need to be doing all that again.
That was so dumb of me. I have a coaster here for like, coffee or drinks or stuff. The coaster is sitting over here. I said, I'm going to put it exactly where the coaster is not.
That's okay. That is okay. What are you drinking, Rachel?
This is my favorite drink in the entire universe. It is a coconut ice latte with oat milk.
Slur.
Because if someplace has coconut, I'm going to get it. I'm going to turn... Lucy and I talked about this. I am going to turn into a coconut. Like... You think
it's
you're
happening,
a coconut
guys.
tree or whatever the fuck that
You think you fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of everything that which came before you.
I don't really understand that. But I don't want it explained to me because it's just funny the way it is. I
was going to tell you, but...
Actually, no, tell me. I mean, I know it's Miss Girl.
Yeah. So in the speech she was giving, she was referencing, I believe, her like aunt who said, like, her phrase was like, you think you fell out of a coconut tree. And it's basically, she's saying, you like, she's like, God, this is just like, it's like basically like, you're not the only person this happens to. Like everything you do and everything that like has happened to you is like a domino effect. Like you don't, like, things don't just exist in this bubble of your world.
Okay.
Like, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree and like everything like just happened, like, Like, no,
Okay.
like you exist, and everything that came before you like made you who you are, and what happens to you, etc.
Okay. I get it. But like,
Education.
I just, I'm not going to get into politics on the Demons on the Page podcast, but I just
Yeah.
like, politicians are some of like, I'm going to get canceled, but like, politicians are some of the dumbest people. I'm like, I just, they probably know a lot about, the political climate and things that are happening, but they don't have common sense.
I think some of them that have been in their positions or like in the Senate for too long or like just kind of in politics like their whole career start to lose the plot a little bit. Some,
Exactly.
not always,
But
but
some.
yeah. And it's usually because like they start getting bribes or like they kind of it just doesn't make sense to them anymore. I don't know. I
Yeah.
agree, but they also just like because they have to give so many speeches. Like you're just if you were to give that many speeches, you're bound to say something kind of weird at some point.
No, yeah, and I don't fault her for like the whole coconut tree thing. That's so funny. But yeah, I just and
They do
it's
just be
not
weird.
just it's every politician.
Yeah, they've all done
They've
weird
all done
things.
something.
But it's like I guess the average person does weird things. It's just like you're not on a platform where everyone's looking at you.
Or are we?
Don't perceive us.
No, do not.
Anyways, now that we've gotten the educational portion of the podcast out of the way this
Yes.
morning, what's everyone reading? What
Uh,
has everyone been up to?
well, I hate to come on here and say that I still have not finished Throne of the Fallen. I'm pretty much where you left me. And I guess I'll consider this a soft DNF for the time. It is extremely thick. I got extremely busy. As maybe some of you know, I started grad school. So obviously I have a lot of reading for that. So then at the end of the day, I kind of just don't want to pick up books. But that doesn't mean I haven't read because my brain works and I need like sillier books. Like I ate up Wild Eyes because I got it
Yes.
at Barnes, and then I came home and I just ate it up. I read it in like 2 days probably, but I needed something like that to like decompress my brain from like all the academic reading that I'm doing, because obviously Throne of the Fallen is not academic, but there's a lot. It's fantasy, so there's rules and I was just like I can't jump back into this right now. But I also part of my program, I'm taking a YA literature class, so I will be having to read some YA novels. So if any of you are like YA or are that age range, which maybe if you are that age range, maybe don't listen to this. Um, but
Maybe.
I'll be reading some of those, probably maybe some books I'll enjoy, probably a lot of books I won't enjoy, if I'm being honest, because the themes of the class just don't really resonate with me. Um, but I mean, I'll get into it if you want. But I would love to hear what you're reading, Lucy, or what you have read.
Yeah. So when I got back from our little vacation,
Vacation.
um, I finished the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying a Vampire, which that one took me forever because I literally started it in late June and I finished it in early August.
And that's okay.
It was just a little um it was like long. I hate to say that, but like it was broken up in like chunks of time kind of.
Uh-huh.
So basically the book, it was a great like October like fall read because it is like spooky.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of approaches the vampire trope in an unconventional way, if that makes sense. Like I'm watching the Vampire Diaries, like I love Twilight, like it's not like vampires, it's kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's broken into weird chunks of time. So it's like we start, and it's like a year basically of like this book club gets started, and then like this new guy comes to town, and then like weird shit happens, and then we kind of jump forward another year, because nothing important happens. Thank God they didn't just like mull through that. But then we have like the accused, like I call it like the accusatory year. Basically, it's like they kind of learn some information, and like the main lady convinces everyone to like accuse him and like go after him, and then no one believes her, and she has a psychotic break. Because it was like the 80s and 90s, like this was set in, and her husband, like she has a psychotic break, like no one believes her. They like they have evidence, and then like all the husbands come back and they're like, you're just crazy. So she does try and kill herself. So she had a little bit of a psychotic break because everyone was like, you're crazy, and she's like, you want to see crazy?
You think you fell out of a coconut tree?
And it's everything. And so she, whatever, after that it jumps forward like 3 years, and it's like, this guy's been here and like everything's fine, and like she kind of isn't fine. She like still thinks he's weird, but she's like tries to like not put everyone on like high alert that she's fucking crazy. She's like, whatever, she kind of let it go. And then in the end they do in fact, well, they kill the vampire. I'm going to tell you because you're probably never going to read this, but basically
I'm not gonna read that.
No, yeah, exactly. And I do not expect you to.
No. Is it like what? Is it in like the horror category or like the mystery? Like what? I'm just curious.
I think it was just in like nonfiction or something. It's not like
fiction?
super gore. Or yeah, sorry, fiction.
I was like, it's real?
No, but like, the reason she brings charges against him is because she sees him attacking a little girl and like feeding on her.
So
and she's like, and like,
or not?
So he's like not a vampire. It's kind of weird.
So wait,
so
did
like
he eat a child?
No. So the way it works, and like it's kind of gross, but like his jaw like unhinges basically.
Oh my god, like at the end of Smile. Y'all remember that? The monster?
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm excited for the second movie.
Me too.
And then out of the back of his throat, a like proboscis unfurls. And then he basically like shoves it into your big vein or aorta or whatever in your thigh.
Do you remember that German movie we watched?
Which one?
Oh, yeah. We actually, I was thinking about this the other day. We watch a lot of German TV and movies.
Yeah,
it's really weird. They just make some fuck ass shit, dude. Shout out to my Germans. I love you. I'm also half German, so. Anyway, no, the movie that we watched when we were at the beach, where it was
the
like
most recent one.
Yes, the one with like the pill that they were taking, and like the thing was like in the back of their throat. That little like virus, kind of like not mushroom, but like fungi kind of thing. You all remember?
Yeah, and they would always try and like yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of.
So, and then like with his little proboscis, he would like inject it into that like vein, and then he was claiming. You kind of find out later because you're like, why is this happening? And then people like the reason she was like, just check, like they always have a weird mark or like wound on their inner thigh, and
that's like the Draco fanfic. Sorry, continue.
I don't think this is like that.
No.
But basically he's like, no, I'm not like feeding on them. I have to like filter my blood or something. So it's like dialysis, but fucking awful. And
vampire dialysis.
He was preying on this, because this is in like the South. So he's preying on this Black community in this like far rural kind of like trailer home area. All those people who like, clean the homes and like, what, this was like
racism.
Yeah. And so he's preying on these like kids, but basically like what happens is like for them, for some reason, it like when you're being like fed on, it felt very like like so she also like she finds out he becomes really close with the main character's family at first, and the crazy grandma who kind of has like dementia is like, I remember you, I have your picture, and everyone's like, shh, you're crazy.
Grandma.
But it is the same guy because he's immortal, and like no one believes her, and like he kills her, he like attacks her with like, he can like, one of the common tropes of like vampires and stuff is that they can control rodents and pests. So like Dracula is said to control like bugs and stuff, and like rodents and
Right.
whatever. Right.
Of course.
And of course, obviously we all know that lore. And why do I consume so much vampire content?
I think there's just a lot
feel
of
like
vampire content out there.
to be consumed. And so he like gets all these rats to attack the grandma and like kill her. We think. It's speculated.
Right.
Anyways, but yeah, then eventually they find the photo. The grandma like comes back as a spirit and is like, there's the photo, and like gives the photo to like the main character, this daughter-in-law, and she like has it and it is him. But basically he like comes in and he like does all these great things, and like he helped build up this community and like got everyone to invest in like something, and they got a lot of money, but then he like dips on them when it's like things turn south or whatever. And like that's what happened last time. But yeah, so the main character, because he gets so close to the family, finds out that he's feeding on her daughter, who's like a teenager, and she finds out because she's like, she thought her daughter was like sneaking out in the middle of the night and like going to see someone or doing drugs because she was like tired and irritable in the morning. And like what was happening is the guy was coming into her room, and basically like I don't know why, but like it's almost described as sexual, like the act of him like feeding on these people.
Oh yeah. Woo!
Like the whole time I was like grossed out and being like, oh, like very much like horror, like I can't look away, but it's so gross. And
I love that.
she like walks in and he's like like because it's like, oh, his head's like so close to like, it's like on your inner thigh, which is like so close to obviously. And then she was making like noises of ecstasy, like it felt good. And I don't know, and he doesn't know why either, because he says it later. He's like, I don't know why, but they always like, no one ever complains, like they say it feels pleasurable, but like it's kind of like a drug where it's like they do it and it's like the moment of ecstasy. And I guess he doesn't have to do it every day or something, but they do it, and then like these people get like a bunch of people the kids ended up killing themselves because like it was like a coming off of a drug or something.
Oh yeah, like
having
the
withdrawals, like they wanted that again, and so they ended up killing themselves because, or they like didn't, or they were like they knew it was happening, and then like even though it felt good, like they killed themselves because they didn't want to keep being preyed on. So, but the mom, who's the main character, offers herself up in exchange for her like kids, and the guy ends up wanting her to like leave her husband and take his place. Like he's crazy.
Ooh, I love him already.
So she does it, and she can kind of like explain, and like it fucks with your blood or something, because like in the flash forward in the epilogue or whatever, they talk about getting the daughter like blood treatments because it messed with her or something, but they can't obviously tell doctors like weird vampire did
sucked on my inner thigh, like
yeah, but the book club kills him, but he can't be killed because he's immortal, so they chop him up into a bunch of pieces and tie him up in trash bags and then put him in, one of the book club members has like a crypt. That sounds weird. They're not called crypts.
A mausoleum.
Like the drawer. Yeah, kind of like that. And so they shoved him in that drawer. Like her drawer at the cemetery. She's like, I'm not dead, obviously. Like you can just use it. But he's not dead. He's like squirming around. So I'm like, I don't think there's another book, and I don't want there to be another book, but I think the author just left it open to be like,
that's sick.
You know, the mystery, the suspense.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, it was kind
of river, if there's a river or a body of water.
Well, they didn't want to be found, but it was just like, I do like horror and mystery and stuff, but it was kind of long. Yeah, because though it was broken down into years, and maybe that was just like a personal thing. I don't remember how many pages it was, but it was 408 pages long, which is not that long, but it was just kind of thick because, I don't know. There was always something happening, but... Yeah. And it was just... it's different from a lot of the typical things I read and gravitate towards. So yeah, um, kind of just like creepy and weird. Very much like the horror movies we watch. Like this, I could totally like picture this, like us like watching a movie like this.
Yeah, I feel like I would definitely watch the movie and like eat it up because we love a horror movie. But that's the thing. I don't know if I've never gotten into like horror novels because I'm very much like a visual person when it comes to that. Like I gotta see,
Yeah.
like I want to. Maybe I'm like messed up, but like I'm like no, I want to see the like gore and like the violence, you know, or
I think
not.
I prefer the book because it's like I can imagine as much as I want to.
Rose up.
Vomits.
Like yes, I don't know. I'm not one to say. I've never read a horror book before, but I think sometimes like my mind just doesn't go to those places very easily. Like sometimes it's sometimes it's hard for me to picture the like two fucking bitches in my room. Like, could I tell you what like West and Skylar look like? Literally, I couldn't because I have no picture in my brain of what they look like. Was it a good story? Yeah. Was I entertained? Of course. Do I know what they look like? Could I point that man out in the street? No. I'm sorry to that man. I could not do it. I don't know what they look like.
So
Who is speaking to me?
yeah, it was just interesting. I only rated it a 3 because I didn't love it.
What did
It
I
was
rate
it was
it?
good, but it's just like I do feel like it was still long and it was a little convoluted, and we didn't even really get into the vampire plot until like halfway through the book. Like
Right.
obviously we kind of had the grandma accusing him of being a lot like, coming back um and just kind of weird things happening for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So um definitely creeped out, but it was fun if you're like into that. I remember reading the description and it sounded so good and kind of action filled, and I was like, oh my god, this book club is gonna slay vampires, and like not really. Like she has to convince everyone to believe her.
Oh.
So, and they don't until this sounds so bad, but he like attacks one of the book club members and like um grapes her. I don't know if we can say that online.
Yeah.
Um
Oh.
and yeah, it wasn't like super graphic about that part, but they kind of touch on it, and then she gets really ill, like whatever, because he did that, like it attacks her body or something, and so she ended up
Mm.
dying. But they only believed her. They only believed the main lady once that happened, and she was like, "No, she was right. We should have listened to her."
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of vampires and that, um, I started reading The One and Only Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Because, so, where I live, there's a bookstore. It's very cute. I took Lucy, and they have a used book section. Um, and I found that I'll get back to it. You'll see where I'm going with this. I found Love on the Brain, which, as you know, is Ali Hazelwood's second book in the like
who is
scientist.
selling their Ali Hazelwood novels? I'm so confused.
Probably someone who thought it was bad, which
True.
understandable. Um, and it was $9, and I was like, "Fuck." And I always thought like because I read Love Theoretically, and I was like, I really like this. I'm like, well, I might as well just. And then I read Love Hypothesis, and I was like, what if I just like read her whole discography? Because why not? It doesn't hurt. The books are enjoyable enough. So I started reading Love on the Brain, and what did I rate it? Let me see. I rated it a 3-star. And I said in my review, I get to say I read it now, and like I'll continue on my like checklist of like her books.
Yeah.
But like, wasn't my fave. Like the characters were kind of annoying. But like she writes a good man. Um, Usually her women are pretty annoying, but that's because they're. I love scientists. Obviously, I read a lot of books with scientists, but the women are like those annoying women in STEM. So I just
Some of y'all are normal, and some
some
of
of
you
y'all
are not.
like this bitch has like purple to like pink ombre hair. She's like a septum piercing. Like she's just kind of weird.
She's cool like
And
that.
her favorite movie is Empire Strikes Back. I'm like, you're so
Oh.
cool. Cover the anime shirt. Not that that's weird, obviously, but like
We're explaining the person. I get it.
it's just you're like you think you're so cool. And like, oh, of course, like her, work nemesis, like that's his favorite movie too. Nah. Except that he's not her nemesis and like because she's like, he hates me. Like he doesn't hate her. He's just like nervous around you because he likes you. So he like doesn't talk to you because he doesn't know how because he's like obsessed with you. Whatever. So then I read it and I was like, damn it, frick. I actually kind of enjoy her writing style. And like sometimes her pop culture references don't make me want to fall onto a wooden stake. And then I was like, I have Bride on my shelf. It's been sitting there forever. It's kind of getting into like spooky fall time. So I picked it up. I'm not very far in it because the chapters are long. I haven't gotten to that scene. Don't worry. When I do, I'll let you know. But there's something like almost like off about it.
Like her writing style, or
it feels very Allie Hazelwood in like the writing style, but like say writing style one more time. God,
you think you fell out of a coconut tree?
I think I fell out of a coconut tree. I don't know if maybe it's just an Allie Hazelwood female lead that I can't get behind. I'm like, I wasn't really liking Lo at first. He's the werewolf.
I'm saying that like I'm not like screaming at my TV when Vampire Diaries is on.
I know.
I'm like yelling at them through the screen. Calm down.
But I wasn't really liking him at first, but that's because we didn't really like know him and we were really just because they like got married to like for like a political thing because they didn't want the werewolves teaming up with the humans in an alliance to erase the vampires. What the fuck am I saying? Obviously, of course. I also think like I don't know. So the vampire king, leader, president. His daughter is Misery, who is the main girl, right? He's like,
dope name.
So by the way, you're getting married in a week. And she's like, huh? And she's been living amongst the humans since like forever because they have this thing. She's a vampire.
Okay.
They have this thing in like the human vampire relations where it's called collateral. And so basically a vampire child goes to live in the human world, and as collateral, a human child goes into the vampire world to like so we can kind of create peace in like the realms.
Vampire exchange program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she goes to live in the human world as a kid, and they give her like a human like foster sister, and that becomes like her bestie and like her sister kind of.
Yeah.
And so she gets called in to her. Sorry, I know you're probably going to read this at some point, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But basically, she gets called into like her dad's like office or whatever, and he's like, "You're getting married in 6 days," and she's like, "I was already collateral for 18 years of my life. Like, I don't want to do it again." Blah blah blah. And then he's like, "But it's like it's for the good of your people, like all this stuff." And she's like, "Well, can you at least tell me who like I'm gonna be marrying? Like, if I go through with this?" And he like says, Lo's name, and she's like, "I'll do it." And then we were like,
"Oh!"
And I was like, oh, so you found out his name and said, and I thought she like knew who he was and was like, oh, he's hot as fuck. He's a buzz cut, by the way. um,
Oh,
um, he's got like a
oh
blonde buzz
no.
cut.
And I would have agreed so fast too. Yes.
Yes. So
Can we move it to today?
I'll get married right now. I'll sign the papers. So, and then I'm like, wait, why is she agreeing so fast? Apparently, her sister slash bestie went missing a while ago, and she thinks that the werewolves have something to do with it. But now,
So this is Zombies 4, right?
yeah. So she's now like married to, you know, Mr. Buzzcut, and she's like living in his like alpha castle. I don't know.
I thought you were gonna say like cave.
No, he like lives on like an estate or something. Like I don't know.
Okay, I'm behind that.
And she's getting to know all of like his like werewolf pack, and she meets this like little girl who's like 6 years old, and she's like,
oh,
and she's like very uncomfortable around kids. She's like, ew, you're sticky. Come to find out, that's actually Mr. Buzzcut's like little sister. And what really got me,
I thought you were gonna say daughter.
That's what she thought too. She's like, oh, does he have a kid? Because she thinks that he has like a mate already.
Oh,
Which like he like I definitely like doesn't.
You imprinted on my daughter?
Yeah. I'm waiting for that scene. Anyway, so but then she finds out that like, oh, that's actually just his like younger sister.
Yeah. His parents died in some tragic way.
Yes, exactly, actually. Like one of them got like killed by like a vampire or something, and like the other one like or like killed by a human or something like that.
So he has beef.
So he's beef. But anyway, I was like these characters are fine. Like I'm kind of just reading it, like I'm reading it. But what really got me on the low train, was Misery and Low were in the kitchen, and she finally tells him about like, oh yeah, I'm trying to find like my missing friend, and I think that your people have something to do with it. So then they're like, there's also this other group of werewolves who like aren't associated with the main group of werewolves. They're kind of like an uprising situation because they support the old alpha. I'm so glad no one's
Makes
home.
sense.
Makes sense, of course. So then he's like, oh, well, maybe the like uprising, you know, ex-werewolf, ex-alpha people have something to do with your friend. So they kind of like team up. And while they're talking about this, he's making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And she's like, he's being weird. He's like cutting off the crust of the sandwich. And she's like, yeah, I can't eat real food, but like, wouldn't that, like, that's so weird, blah, blah, blah. And the end of that chapter ends with his little sister like running into the room, like crying because she had like a nightmare or something. And he's like, she's sitting on his lap. And she's like, did you make the sandwich? He's like, oh, I made you a sandwich. And she goes, did you cut the crust off? And he goes, of course, love. And that got me. And now
did he know she was going to have a nightmare?
What?
Did he know she was going to have a nightmare?
No, I think he just made her a sandwich. Like for like lunch or something. Like she was like napping. I don't know. It was like nap time. I don't know. It was just really cute, and that was probably a terrible way of explaining it, but he's just very adorable with his little sister. And
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, obviously the other alpha group is going to be attacked. What?
Yeah.
But I'm there eating it up, you know?
Like, what even is literature?
Well, I go back to the point of, isn't it so odd that Allie Hazelwood for years has probably 10 plus books at this point about the STEM romance. And then she just comes out and writes this werewolf vampire fantasy.
Well, before she
No
came out
hate.
with her 3 STEM novels, she was actually writing on like AO3 or something, and she was writing like sci-fi dystopian, like not fan fiction, but just like unpublished.
Yeah.
So it's like she's definitely into that, but I think it is kind of weird to just jump into the vampire werewolf space.
Well,
Because
and I'm glad she's doing something I'm sure this, like, to me, it seems, and especially based on you being like, oh, her AO3, that the fantasy sci-fi vampire stuff is what she wanted to write. But I'm like, why did you write so many STEM books if it's like, I don't
well,
know. It just intrigues me. And you're like, oh, something's different about this one. I'm like, maybe it's just because she like likes this one more. I don't know.
I think it's also obviously she has a knowledge. She literally has a PhD in neuroscience, I think. So it makes sense why she writes these like STEM romance novels.
Imagine getting a doctorate in neuroscience and then you're like, yeah, I write STEM romance novels for a living, and I make more than I probably would as a neuroscientist,
Exactly.
even though they make a shit ton of money. Like,
No.
I bet everyone in the field, like, it's probably a 50-50 of like everyone being like, of course you threw your degree away, and then some people who are like, go get them.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that she writes Bride, and then her next release is going to be it's not going to be a STEM romance, but it's going back to that traditional romance kind of rivals to
Style.
lovers situation of the Olympic diver, or not I don't think they're in the Olympics, but like diver and swimmer at like a college or something. So it's like she's going back to that. I don't it just kind of feels like you wrote Bride because you had an itch to write, to like go back into the fantasy space, and then you're like, I hope it works.
I wonder. I'm like, I don't know a lot about Allie Hazelwood, but I wonder if she got signed for some deal. Like, maybe she was writing these STEM like manuscripts for publishers to read, and they took off, and she signed some big deal for them, and her publisher doesn't want her to, like, they somehow let her do Bride, but they were like, no more. But I also thought people were saying that it's going to be a trilogy.
Bride?
Yeah, there's going to be more.
I don't know. Maybe no, I need to know.
I don't know. Well, then now it's weird that she's doing diving romance, like sport romance.
Yeah, it's kind of like she's trying to tap into all of these different niches where like you already have a niche. You're pretty good at
Kind of,
your niche.
yeah.
I'm just I'm just so happy that her like sports romance is not a hockey romance. So happy. Like
I've seen a lot more like F1, motocross, baseball, like just more, not random sports, but different sports.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think everyone's tired of the hockey.
God, I hope
Not
so.
everyone. It's a little overdone. Like, if you tried to hit the market with a hockey romance right now, be for real. Well, speaking of romance.
Okay, people are saying on Reddit.
Oh, research.
It's not. Okay, people are saying it seems like she set herself up for interconnected standalones, and like Misery's story, the vampire, is like concluded in Bride, like their plot. And like future books will be about maybe other characters in the world. But then
Okay,
also people are
speculation.
saying this other person said she stated in an interview she was planning on writing a sequel at some point. But I don't know if that sequel is going to be like Misery and Low, or just like another couple or something in the universe.
Well, it seems like she would just do an interconnected universe because that's what she tends to do if she does do a continuation.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Anyway.
Fascinating.
I
don't know. I don't know. Speaking of romance, certain cowboy we need to speak about.
We should have like every time we talk about a cowboy romance, we should have like a
Like horses running through.
like a stampede.
Oh, incredible.
That'd be really funny.
I don't have the skills for that.
Okay.
Maybe.
Send it
so
over.
we did
I'll
read...
put something on. I feel like I could CapCut that.
Yeah.
Okay, horses.
We'll figure it out.
TBD.
TBD. So when we forgot Wild Eyes was coming out, and then it did.
Yeah.
And then we immediately consumed it in 2 days.
Yeah.
Well, I got it on Kindle. I still don't know why, like what deal LC Silver made with Kindle Unlimited, but like that book came out and it was free. Well, not free, but like Kindle Unlimited free.
Yeah, she must have some like deal with them.
Like I didn't even have to wait an extra month to like read it. Isn't that weird? I digress. Anyways. I loved and I hated.
Oh.
And I loved again and I had opinions.
I'd love to hear them. All of the opinions.
Earlier you being like, oh, I couldn't like picture them. It's just Lainey Wilson, but brunette. Or was she blonde?
She's blonde.
It's just Lainey Wilson.
I was going more for what's her name? The like really
Kelsey
blonde
Ballerini?
one. No. God, what's her name? Megan Maroney. That's who I was thinking of. That's her. Because I Lainey Wilson, you're too old.
Oh.
Love you.
I don't like follow them too much.
Love
like
but like I feel like Skylar's kind of young.
I see the Meg Maroney. I guess I just kind of was like general like amalgamation of all of those girls.
Yeah.
I didn't know. How old is Lainey Wilson?
I don't know, actually. I was just kind of saying that.
Okay, why are these all videos? I just want to look at a picture of her. Meg Maroney seems a lot better of a comparison. Okay, anyways. I did like the character. I thought she was really relatable. Well, that sounds great. The mega pop star was really relatable.
No, that's
But
fair.
like just kind of the way she talked about her anxiety and kind of being taken advantage of, that felt relatable.
Yes.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Oh, let me read you my review because I think this is funny.
I'll read mine after. You go.
I do not care. I'll eat up anything Elsie Silver writes. And yeah, it was simple, predictable, but like I think these characters were more relatable than some of her other characters have been in the past.
Yeah.
Even though it was predictable, the story was heartwarming and, dare I say, healing. Anyways, go ahead. I'll shut up.
No, I liked that. That's very true. I gave it 3.5 stars. And I wrote, and I can always count on Elsie Silver to give me a wonderful cowboy single dad, and I will gobble it up like Thanksgiving. Because honestly, I didn't really have anything to say because it's just an Elsie Silver book. Like you're gonna get a cowboy plot, you're gonna get some romance, you're gonna get a single dad maybe, and it's just gonna be a solid time. Like you're gonna nothing to critique really.
No notes. Yeah, I want to watch a man run a horse around.
I want to run the horse around. I want to be the horse.
Run me around. What?
Them doing it on the bed of on the what's it called? The hood of the truck. What?
Oof.
Okay, so new plan: buy a man at an auction.
Buy a man at an auction? illegal. They some places still do those like dates with bachelors or whatever.
What do you mean illegal?
I've seen them
it's
before.
for a good cause.
Fair enough. Yeah. I don't know. This one wasn't. I think, you know which one I think is going to be like so dramatic and fun is the next one about.
Oh! So excited for that.
Oh, I must meet this mystery man. Who's not a mystery, but he is a mystery.
I gotta know what's going on. Like, her sister dies. Oh.
Ugh. So, I don't know. Yeah, just really, yeah. No notes. I think I wrote down some like quotes that I liked.
Oh yeah, I
don't know. Just
I took oh god, I'm like I don't know why I was taking pictures. Hold on. I've got
I figured out how to do the quotes on Fable, so if you've seen a few quotes from me.
Yeah. I have the
Oh.
Even though my makeup is perfect and my tits are pushed up, this man is going on about my eyes.
You did really like that one. Mine was when he said, "Breathing is overrated. I'd rather be drowning in you."
That's a good one too.
I need a man so down bad for me. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I'm reading this right now. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no! Show me what you're reading.
The I don't know how to say this. Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, which this is an India Holton book, and you've heard me talk about the Wisteria Society, which is like the Pirate House series she did. I didn't even know she was coming out with this. Like, I don't really follow this author that closely, and we were in said bookstore, me and Rachel, and this was sitting at the front counter, and I saw her like name on it, and I was like, and so I bought it. I like. Anyways, I'm not very far into this. I'm 54 pages into this. I've been a little bit slow, but I forget how much I love like a drama period piece.
Yeah.
Like romance. It's so good. And they can't be like all, touchy on each other, so they're just like sassy. And I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyways, trying to work my way through that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm up to.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm in a YA literature class. And so we have our first book that we have to read for next week. So, obviously I've started reading it. And it's pretty fast paced, probably because it's YA, so the chapters are really short. It's great. But why? I'm hoping, since I'm now in an academic class about this, I'll get some answers finally for the age-old question of why do we want to read about female leads who put themselves down? I just don't get it.
I think that's something I really liked about Wild Love, where she was beating herself up and then she was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to get out of this.
Yeah, I like that.
It wasn't just like the whole time she was beating herself up, it's that she overcame it.
Right. And it's the whole for our assignment for these books that we have to read, we get to fill out like little kind of charts of like our personal reactions so we can like bring them to class and, have a discussion about it, which I love. Which is kind of what we do here, really. An academic podcast. I really can't deal with the beating yourself up and being like, so the plot of this book is, get it so I can show you. This is the book. The plot is it's this girl. Her name is Moon. What the fuck? The only Moon you can be is that koala from Sing. Buster Moon. Love him. That is played by Matthew McConaughey.
One of my coworkers' last name is Moon.
See, that's fine. Her first name is Moon, and her twin sister's name is Star. And her sister, Star...
Thanks, I hate it.
...is, like, Instagram famous.
She's a star.
And her mom, like,
Sorry.
doesn't... So that, like, their mom only loves Star because Star has made them a lot of money, so now they're not, like, a poor Mexican family. It's also important that, I guess, they're, like... Her family's, like, Mexican, and they're very religious, which is fine. But, like, Moon doesn't really subscribe to the whole religion thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Star has based her whole account on being, like, religious and pure. And everyone thinks that, or her mom thinks that Moon is, like, horrible and, like, has, you know, offended Jesus. Because apparently their family has this curse that's been passed down from Eve. Because obviously Eve made that terrible decision to eat the apple and be like, what the fuck? Why are we all naked? You know, God. So, and
Questioning the Bible.
I'm questioning this whole fucking book.
Yeah.
So Moon is not, you know, religious or, like, you know, trying to be, like, very pure or anything. So she's also, you know, she's lost her virginity. That's fine. I get that's something that teens do.
They like high schoolers?
Yeah, she's in high school. And so then her mom found out that she, like, you know, lost her virginity and, like, has now, like, continued the curse. So her mom got, like, really mad at her, and we found out that her mom, like, stabbed her, which is really aggressive. And, like, the parental figures in this book are just not healthy and not good. And I just,
Yeah.
why are we reading about that as, like, a teen? Because this book is for ages 14 and up, and we've talked about blowjobs and sex so much. And at 14, I was giggling and kicking my feet because Katniss and Peeta cuddled in that cave. That's all I needed at 14. Like,
I think because of the internet, the age we talk about that stuff like that has really lowered.
and I think that's fine because, but I think it's fine as long as we have some, like, healthy conversation about it. But to me, nothing about the way that this character talks about herself is healthy. Because it's perpetuating the stereotype of, I'm the ugly, fat, size 16 twin, but the guy that's really hot said I was beautiful, so it's okay. Girl, stand up. Stand up. Holy shit.
What is it? Veronica, Graham invited me to his homecoming party. Mm-hmm. This means he's been thinking about me.
Yeah. It's just...
You're more than a man!
And I wrote that in my notes of, like, why do we want to read about these protagonists who just put themselves down? Because she's like, well, no one's going to look at me. I'm just ugly and fat.
Yeah.
Do something about it.
I will say, I haven't read this book, obviously. But it seems real. Like, these are real things.
Oh, no. And I wrote that.
We face teenagers. Maybe I wasn't stabbed, but... but, like, these are real things people face. But I'm not saying all media has to be great. But this book... I wouldn't just hand this to my kid or let my kid pick this up at the book fair. You know, it's a book that I feel needs guidance and discussion. And they're not going to talk about this book in school because it does have so many sexual storylines. At least not in the South.
Oh, no.
God forbid we talk about someone having premarital sex.
You would not be reading this book in the South. This is a California book through and through. And I'm in the South, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, you're in college.
Yeah. Another part of our thing that we have to write in our, like, little personal reaction form, we have to also put in, like, why would this appeal to teens, obviously, because we're talking about teenagers. And I did say, like, you know, maybe this could be relatable to some, you know, young girls, and, like, maybe they also come from, like, a religious household. Maybe they have no one to talk about, you know, things like growing up and sex within their family. And that's great for them. But it just, if I was a 14-year-old, I'd be like,
Yeah.
And I said, I was literally, it made me uncomfortable to read this, but here I am reading about people getting their back blown out on a fucking Ford F-150. Like, I'm not, like, it doesn't make me uncomfortable, but it makes me uncomfortable if I, like, gave this, if I like, saw my kid reading this. Because it's like...
It's like our library's stocking this book somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, I got this book on Amazon. But, like, I did see at the, like, the bookstores, not the one we went to, but there's another one. Like, they had this book in stock. Like, I did actually got some tabs in there. I mean, I was tabbing more for, my class.
School, yeah.
But, like, I tabbed this one. Where is it? Oh, my God.
Also, quick side note, if you are an abusive parent or, like, a manipulative parent,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to let your kid read this because, like, her parents, and for example, are like, they couldn't believe that she is, like, rejecting their religious beliefs and, you know, had sex. Like, if you were a religious parent, your child who's experiencing the same thing wouldn't be allowed to read that book.
Right. And it's not really kind of disclosed that... Like, I picked this book up because, so we had a list of 4 books that we could choose from for this next week. And I picked this one because it said the plot, the sister's an influencer, right? She gets invited on this, like, brand trip, essentially. Basically a MadCon equivalent. Like, they go on tour and, like, they do meet and greets, right? So weird. And so she, like, her sister, Moon, has to go with her because Moon is her photographer. So she's like, well, I need my photographer to, like, go with me. Y'all are fucking 17 years old. Shut the fuck up.
Well, it's nice that she brought her.
And so her, like, bunkmate on the tour is her new nemesis, who's, like, the hottest guy she's ever seen, but also, like, super grumpy. And I'm like, oh, well, I love a nemesis. I love a hot nemesis. He's missing a hand. He doesn't have a left hand.
Why?
He got in a really bad car accident and, like, he had to get his arm amputated.
I
found the quote.
Sorry.
So obviously throughout the whole book, she's like, I'm the ugly one. Like, no one would ever think about me the way they look at my sister, because my sister's, like, super pretty and, you know, skinny and, like, a model, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So it says Santiago is the name of the, like, hot guy. Santiago doesn't think I'm like a dog, I bet. He doesn't think of me as a whore. And the way he looks at me the way people look at Star, but better, because there's no hint that he wants to get something from me. He looks at me like I'm perfectly lovely and funny and beautiful just as I am, and that is enough. Cute, adorable little quote, Miss Girl.
Does he end up, like, does he end up, like, just wanting her to, like, hook up or something?
No, he, like, actually genuinely cares about her, and he's like,
sorry.
He's like, well, yeah, like, one of the quotes is something like, and she's like, well, you can love me. Like, I don't look like Star. Like, I'm not, like, a skinny, like, little, like, I'm not, like, a skinny model. She's like, I'm squishy. And he goes, I like squishy. I like squishy.
That's fine. Don't call me squishy.
It's because... Don't get me wrong.
Like, I just think the word squishy is so rude.
I love when a man calls me beautiful. Or says I look good.
Yeah.
But I also have an ounce of self-confidence to be like, even if you don't say that about me, I know I look good. You know?
Yeah. This is so...
I need this class to happen on Tuesday so I can finally bring these thoughts to my professor and be like, help.
What if she's like, yeah, no, it actually was really problematic. Thanks for bringing them up.
I'm
glad you clocked it.
No, but I think I've already answered my question myself. I just want to hear it from someone else. But we bring up these themes in books, especially YA, is because these are how teens are feeling. Because they are feeling like, I'm not enough, I'm not pretty, because your body's, like, changing or growing or whatever. Maybe I'm just an escapist. I want the female lead to be the hottest motherfucker I've ever seen. Because then I have a role model. She is a horrible role model.
Well, like, for example, going back to Wild Love, is she is like dogging on herself and like, you know, has those negative like anxiety thoughts, but she overcomes them, and in the end, like it's not always that simple, but like in the end, like she turned that around and was really like still had moments like even though she was like, God, like I just, you know, I'm afraid people are gonna see the real me, but then he's like, oh, do you like your fake tits? She's like, I fucking love my fake tits. Like, duh, they're amazing.
When I read that, I was like, not that I need to tell the whole world, but like, yeah, get them for yourself, girl. Because if it makes you feel good, get them. It shouldn't be about a man.
And I thought that was, and maybe because like we're a little bit older
Yeah.
than like a teenager. We're not old, but like older than a teenager, and we've kind of developed that self confidence.
Yeah.
We feel differently, and I definitely like did go through those like things as a teenager, but I would much rather at the end of the book you're reading, the girl like figure out that she's more than just some man's opinion and she's more than just her like appearance.
And
you know?
it is something that, I think even people our age deal with today, but like one of the there's like a scene where she like has this like friend who's a man who like she sends him like a not like she doesn't like send nudes to this guy, but like just like a sexy photo because she says she's like, I just want attention and I know this guy will give it to me if I send him like a sexy pic. And it's like, girl, that's so for real.
Yeah.
But what do you do? Like, what? Don't be teaching the 14-year-olds that that's a way to get attention.
The kids are too impressionable.
I know. So that's why I'm like, what the fuck? But our man Santiago calls her out on it. He goes, will you quit fishing for compliments? And she's like, I'm not fishing for compliments. And he's like, saying that you're a fat squishy whale is basically baiting me into saying, no, you're not.
Fat squishy whale.
she doesn't the fat squishy whale is not a direct quote. That's just from the noodle.
It's the thing, it's an amalgamation.
Yeah, because she does do that. She's like, well, I'm not as beautiful as my sister. I'm not this, I'm not that. And he's like, you realize that that's you're fishing for compliments, right? And she's like, I would never do that.
Maybe this author is the hero. Sometimes you either die the hero, you live long enough to become the villain, and she's somewhere in between.
Yeah, I have like probably 50-ish, 60 pages left of this book. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm just kind of like... And also, I mean, her sister is actually kind of a fucking bitch. Her sister, like...
Fair.
She wants to, like, have a fake, like, PR relationship with Santiago because obviously he's, like, beautiful, but, like, she's not gonna have a real relationship with him because she's actually gay. And she was caught kissing a girl.
And that's why she pretends to be so pure online?
Yeah. Because she obviously can't let her mother know, because if her mother found out that one of her daughters is gay, she's gonna fucking have a conniption. Because Jesus would not allow that. I'm like, Jesus.
No, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying people actually experience that.
No. And it's a very real topic, and so she wants to like have this fake relationship with Santiago to like, oh my God, like we're just so pure. Like Jesus led me to him, like all these things. But then obviously Santiago doesn't like her because he likes Moon, and Moon obviously likes Santiago, and so she gets kind of pissed at Moon because she's like, well, you're stealing my man, and then she like destroys her like $2,000 like Nikon like camera. And I'm like, that's a fucking bitch move. And her sister also perpetuates the idea of like putting Moon down, of being like, you're just the photographer. Like, you don't have any talent. Even though Moon is like, no, I want to go to like art school, like photography school.
Yeah. Sorry, you wouldn't have this account without me.
No, and that's actually really true. And so it's just kind of this whole, I see how this could be maybe, relatable to the teens of like, maybe you don't have a great home life. Maybe, you don't have a good relationship with your parents or your sister, or like maybe you grew up with a single mom. I see, but like,
Yeah.
why? Are we like
Interesting
this?
approach.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe
I don't know.
maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way because, sometimes I'll get in my head and I'll think about this as I'm reading it as a 23-year-old woman and not as a potential 16-year-old,
Yeah.
So I think it's maybe just trying to reframe that. But I just like, I wouldn't, in the library, if a girl came up to me and like asked me for a book recommendation, I'm not recommending this book to a child.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing it because I don't think that you should be reading the word blowjob. I just don't think you should. Like,
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see what your classmates and professors have to say about if we think teenagers should be reading this, and if teenagers, like young teenagers, are getting a benefit from seeing these situations that are potentially similar to their own, because like obviously we did not go through that.
right, like I couldn't really think of, I mean, like I said, I was like, I'm gonna say getting off, but like, I was getting off to Katniss and Peeta like cuddling in the cave, They didn't do anything, bro. Like, they just cuddled in the cave. And I was like, they're cuddling in the cave? Like, I'll still get
I
off to that,
screamed when
dude.
people like kissed each other. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, we did grow up in a different time of like, that was it. Like, we didn't have, I couldn't really remember. No, they do fuck in Fault in Our Stars, huh?
I remember that was like
That
such
was
a big
wild.
deal because like I said, like I grew up in the South, and I wouldn't even say like where I lived was like super conservative,
Yeah.
like not politically, but like ideal wise with like sexuality and stuff. But I remember like I had friends who were like, we can't watch that movie because like from their beliefs that their parents had given them, like they didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And we like sex was like not talked about, and like even in high school, like it was very like you were almost talking in code when you talked about stuff like that because it just felt wrong because there
Mm-hmm.
is I'm not like heavily religious in any one way,
Mm-hmm.
but there were people who were, and there was people's parents who very much were like, I can't believe like they didn't want to go to church when they got to high school, and like that was a whole big argument like that. A lot of people went through that of being like, I don't want to do this with you anymore with
Right.
their parents. And I don't know, it's just crazy. I was like, we like that book definitely banned here, definitely couldn't find that book if I tried here.
Yeah, that's,
So
wow.
interesting.
It
Like the
is
parents would have a
interesting.
conniption if they found out anyone was reading that.
Yeah.
And like right, like kind of rightfully so, of like maybe we shouldn't be exposing people to this, but also like they're doing it for the wrong reasons. If that makes sense.
I was also,
So
I was in the YA section, like just the YA like fiction section at Barnes and Noble, and a lot of the books look like that, like not physically, but like they have
they're
those.
cutesy.
No, not like they look like this, like cover.
Oh,
They look like those ideals of like, oh God, I can't. Everyone's got something. Everyone has something because you think you fell out of a coconut tree, like everyone is struggling in a YA novel.
I mean, yeah.
Like, everyone is the like, there's all like, so the class, there's a group project like kind of throughout the semester. And each group is a different theme of identity. So we have a group on gender identity and sexual identity. I'm in the body size identity, which is totally fine. Something I can relate to, being a woman. But it's just crazy that actually every book in the YA section has to deal with one of those forms of identity. But I guess that's because that's what teens are going through. But like if we went back in time and we looked at the teen section when we were growing up, it would be maybe some of those things, but they would kind of be a little bit more discreet about it, you know?
Yeah, I'm thinking about what I read and like what I saw at the book fair. I feel like our generation very much, it was the Hunger Games because that came out when we were
Yeah, it was the Hunger Games, the Maze
teenagers.
Runner.
A lot of dystopian, which
Yes.
we really like vibed with, and I don't know if it's, which is weird because like I don't know, obviously like we were learning what dystopian worlds were and like looked like, etc.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Divergent, just so like the way like Fifth Wave or whatever. There's just so many. The dystopian was going crazy. I
Mm-hmm.
also read a lot of like cutesy books, if that makes sense. Like I remember I used to read one about this girl who wanted to like start a bakery or something. And
Cutie.
like yeah, she definitely like overcame some stuff and like maybe she like lost a parent and like she was dealing with that, but it was mostly about like the bakery and her like putting in the dedication and
I
time
think
to
I
like
know what
starting
book you're
something.
talking about. Because I
And they
read
all
a
had, like
book.
cakes or oh, it was like a series. Like they all had, like cakes on the front.
Oh, maybe I'm not thinking the same thing, but I remember reading a book about this, like, I don't know if she was like a girl or like a woman. I don't know, but it was a girl. But it was about this bakery. Like she wanted to start like a, oh God, Brett, what books about a bakery?
No, you're so fucked.
I'll find it.
Uh,
I'll find it. Don't worry.
yeah, I don't.
Oh, it was called Bliss. Like I read this book as a kid. If anyone knows what this is.
Oh, I didn't read that.
Oh no, it was. Oh my God, it was like this magical. It was yes, it was a magical bakery. Like the sweets and the cakes and stuff were. Oh my God.
Wait,
Wait,
so
let me
I want to
read
read
you the
that now.
plot.
Go ahead.
Oh my God, oh, that's gonna make me cry. I want to read it again. Oh, books and up. Here we go. Rosemary Bliss. Rosemary Bliss's family has a secret. It's the Bliss Cookery Book, an ancient leather-bound volume of enchanted recipes. Rose and her siblings are supposed to keep the cookery book locked away while their parents are out of town. But then a mysterious stranger shows up. Aunt Lily rides a motorcycle and also whips up exotic but delicious dishes for dinner. Soon, boring non-magical recipes feel like life before Aunt Lily, a lot less fun. So Rose and her siblings experiment with just a couple of recipes from the forbidden cookery book. A few love muffins and cookies of truth couldn't cause too much trouble, could they? So it's like magical. Like, sorry, why did I read that? Who
I
cares?
I don't know if there's like a show or a movie that was kind of like that. I feel like I've read something like that or
Oh,
consumed media.
I remember, I remember that. Maybe
But
I'll have to read
that's
that.
like that was the kind of stuff I was consuming like through high school.
Oh yeah,
Like
like
I'm so just intrigued by like how the publishing and like book industry is like changed.
yeah.
And if kids are actually picking that up or if it's mostly like young adult, like our age young adults.
No, and maybe I'll bring that up in my class. Be like, so was anyone reading books like this in, you know, middle school? Because
And
I
unless
was
they were
I was reading
assigned
about
reading.
I was reading about the magical cookies.
Yeah, the only time I read something kind of serious like that was in assigned readings. Like I know The Hate You Give came out when I was in high school
Yeah,
and it was brought onto the curriculum. They might not read that anymore here.
that's
That
on
might
our
have been banned.
curriculum
I'm
to
not gonna
read.
lie.
So I've never read it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say
I never
excited,
read it.
because I'm not. But
I
I don't
watched the
know.
movie, I never read it.
I don't really know what it's about. I think it's about. Isn't it about like police brutality or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it should be good. People that book has gotten a lot of awards. It's just like that's not something. I don't know. The books like we read in like middle school and high school, like we didn't read that. I was
I
reading.
remember reading Paper Towns in high school
Oh yeah.
and really just not liking it and finding it very confusing.
Yeah.
And it's a good book for sure. I think it was kind of advertised to teenagers and it was kind of relatable, but at the same time it's hard when those aren't guided because I think you're still figuring out your comprehension and understanding media like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is why, as adults, like stuff like that makes sense and you can really see the themes and whatever, but we've been through years of schooling now, and being in high school, that was not something I had.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Getting educational again.
We circle back to education.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Thanks for joining us.
I hope you get your answers.
Pod fam.
Yeah. We'll see you next week, hopefully on a lighter note.
I think it's always going to go like this with me. Like I'm always thinking about this. Like it's always in the frontal lobe of, I just keep consuming media that has like these sad, like downtrodden fucking women.
Yeah.
I think that's why I sometimes eat up fantasy so much, is because usually they're badasses.
Yeah.
Because they've been shaped by their shitty environment.
True. Commentary there.
It's the stand up mentality. It's like very like someone like, I mean, my favorite girl, Isla. Sometimes, yeah, she puts herself down because she, is like, I'm fucking powerless. But that bitch stands up and says, no one's gonna know that I don't have powers because I'm gonna boss this challenge right now.
I'm gonna boss this challenge.
Sorry,
words we haven't heard in forever. Not slay, swag and boss.
We got what? Turn the fucking cameras off.
Got the cameras.